Hare Krishna. Happy Nrsimha's Appearance Day. Nrsimha Caturdasi. Chaturdasha means 14 in Sanskrit, and Chaturdashi means the 14th lunar day. Nrsimha Caturdasi. So I'll chant one time the famous Nrsimha prayer. Namaste Nrsimhaya Praladadaine Hiranyakashipur Vakshashilatankanakalaye Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha Yato Yamitato Nrsimha Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha Nrsimhamadin Sharanam Prabhaje Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimhamadin Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavarena Kamadhuta Singham Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanu Bhringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Nrsimhadev Ki Jai. So, perhaps I'll begin by translating those songs. Namaste, I bow to you. Narasimhaya, I bow unto you, Nrsimha. Praladadaine, unto you who gave bliss to Prahlad. The name Prahlad means the very blissful one. And so Prahlad or Ahlad both mean bliss. So Prahlada, Ahlada, Daine. Daine means unto the giver of bliss, to the famous devotee Prahlad. Hiranyakashipur Vakshashila Tankanakalaye. And obeisance under Nrsimhadev, who's Nakali, his nails are tanka, a chisel, which broke the Hiranyakashipur Vakshashila, the stone chest of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was very powerful asura, and it said that his chest was like stone. It was so hard, and yet the Lord's fingers were a chisel that actually broke that stone. So then Ito Nrsimha, Parato Nrsimha, here is Nrsimha, there is Nrsimha, Yato Yami, wherever I go, Tato Nrsimha, there is Nrsimha, Bahir Nrsimha, outside is Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha, in my heart is Nrsimha, Nrsimham Adin Sharanam Prapadye. Prapadye, I surrender to the Adi Sharana, the original shelter, the first or original shelter, Nrsimham. Nrsimham Adi, like Adi Purusha. Nrsimham Adi Sharanang Prapadye. Then Tava means your. Tavakara Kamala, your lotus hands. Kara means hands. Tavakara Kamala Vare, on these excellent lotus hands. Adbhuta Singham, there are astonishing nails, which are they're curved, like a lion. So these amazing nails on your excellent lotus hands. Tavakara Kamala Varena Kamadbhuta Singham. Dalita, and with those hands or nails, Dalita, you tore apart Hiranyakashipu Tanu, the body of Hiranyakashipu, Bringam, like a wasp. He had controlled the universe. No one in the universe could defeat Hiranyakashipu, yet the Lord just tore him apart as if he were an insect. Dalita Hiranyakashipur Tanu Bringam Keshava, O Lord Keshava, Drita, means you have taken on, you have assumed Kesava Jita Narahari Rupa, the man-lion form. Narahari Rupa. Jaya, glory to Jagadisha, the Lord of the universe. Hare. It's actually in the second person. Glory to you, Lord of the universe. Hare. So that's that song. Now there's a verse from the Bhagavatam I was trying to find for you, and I was given a verse number, and unfortunately it 771. Looks like maybe it was my mistake, which I hate to admit publicly, but I think it was. Yes, it was my mistake. Sorry. There goes inability. Okay. So, Srimad Bhagavatam 771. Sri Narada Vacha. Sri Narada said, Evam, thus, Daitya Sutai Prishto. Prishta means question. Thus questioned by the Daitya sons, the sons of the Daityas. Evam Daitya Sutai Prishto Mahabhagavato Asura. The Asura, because technically here Asura doesn't mean a demon. Asura just, it's like a nationality or an ethnic group. So Prahlad was an Asura, not in terms of his character or behavior, but you could say in terms of his nationality, or his identity. So, and there's obvious irony here. Mahabhagavato Asura, the great Vaishnava Asura. So it's, yes, obvious irony there in the composition of that verse. So Uvacha, he said, Tan, to them, to the Asura boys, Smayamanaha, smiling. So Prahlad's in a very good mood. He's a pure devotee. He's smiling. He's very happy, just preaching Krishna consciousness. And Smaran, Mad Anubhasitam. And he was remembering what I had taught him. That's the word Anubhashita. Bhashita means spoken. And here we have Anu Bhashitam. Anu means following. So Anu Bhashitam means that which is spoken, that which Narada taught him. So he's remembering now. In other words, he's about to preach to the Asuras, but as Prabhupada would say, he's not going to concoct something. He's remembering what Narada taught him. And clearly he's going to repeat the words of the great soul Narada, of course. He's going to, what Narada taught him. So, let's see the next verses, because of course Prahlad is the great devotee of Lord Linga. So Sri Prahladu Vacha. It's interesting, in the Bhagavatam you may have noticed the L in Prahlada is replaced by an R, Prahlada, because R and L often are sort of interchangeable in Sanskrit in various words. So Sri Prahladu Vacha, Sri Prahlad said, Pitari prastite smakang tapase mandarachalam yudhodmang parang chakrur vibudha danavan prati. So he's going to just talk to the Asuras about, about what's an Asura, what's a demigod, trying to kind of give him the basics. He's going to preach here. Actually, this is still Narada speaking. Forgive me, but it's funny. Narada spoke to Prahlad, and now he taught Prahlad. Then he said, now Prahlad is going to speak, and so Narada is going to tell us what his student said. So clearly, Narada Muni is very proud of his student Prahlad. So having taught him, he now is going to explain what his student taught the Asuras. And so going back to this verse, 771, in a sense, our position is like that, because Sri Narada Vacha he said, Smaran Madan Ubhashitam, Prahlad remembering what I taught him. That's our situation, because we have been taught by someone on the level of Narada Muni. We have been taught by Prabhupada. We, most of us, belong to an institution which Prabhupada created. It was not my idea. I just was very fortunate to run into it and recognize that, Prabhupada's a pure devotee, and this is the absolute truth. So just as Prahlad heard from Narada, we have heard from Prabhupada. We are obviously not on Prahlad's level at this point in our spiritual evolution, but still, something's better than nothing, as they say. And so we definitely are very fortunate. So, and just as Prahlad is now going to preach he's going to teach his classmates who are sons of asuras. I don't want to say that all of us are preaching to asuras or sons of asuras. That would be a little uncharitable. Most of us live in countries that are clearly very fallen. I mean, often disgustingly so. But in terms of the slaughter that goes on and just the shameless sense gratification, but still, there's a lot of good people that sort of mean well. They would like to be happy. They would like to have a better life. And so we are, in that sense, at our own level, obviously, which is far below Prahlad, but we are in that same situation. We have heard from a great Vaishnava. We have heard from a great servant of the Lord, Prabhupada. He has given us this perfect spiritual knowledge about the nature of God, the soul, and the physical world. And now, just as Prahlad took that knowledge that he received from Narada, and he's going to spread it. He's going to spread the Hare Krishna movement. So that's what we should do. If we receive knowledge from great souls, as we have, and we don't distribute it, that knowledge will not live inside of us. Spiritual knowledge is a funny thing, to use that expression. It only comes alive when it's moving. It has to be moving. It's like water. Prabhupada gave the example that if water stands without moving, it becomes contaminated. Have you ever seen in a river or a stream, there's a little bit of water will become trapped behind a stone or, some little part of the river. And that trapped water gradually becomes poisonous. I mean, you see the white foam and it becomes very nasty. So we receive knowledge from great souls, but the secret of keeping that knowledge alive, I mean, if you joined the Hare Krishna movement, you must have realized something. I don't think any of you were that hungry. So if you joined the Hare Krishna movement, obviously at one point in your life, you had some very interesting realizations. Even if you were born in the Hare Krishna movement, if you stayed in it, or at least, orbit around it or whatever you're doing, the fact that you're listening to this class right now means that you have some interest, obviously, and of course, many of you have great interest in Krishna consciousness. And so that means all of us have had spiritual experiences when the knowledge just completely came to life for us. And we realized this is the most important thing in the world. This is it. This is the most important thing in the world. And I need to do this no matter what the world thinks about me. I need to practice Krishna consciousness, or at least serve the devotees, because this is so important. Knowledge is so powerful. Krishna really is God. I really am an eternal soul. And I need to respond to that revelation. So the way to keep that knowledge alive inside of us, so that every day you wake up and it's a brand new spiritual day. And, you look around, you look out the window, and you realize that Krishna's everywhere. You realize that I'm a servant of Krishna. I've got to do something for Krishna today. In other words, you're really alive in Krishna consciousness. Enthused, as we used to say in the good old days, fired up. So if you want to remain in that state of being spiritually alive and excited and just like, the best thing that could happen to you today is that to find someone that you can talk to about Krishna. So we have to spread the knowledge. It's like, here's a very domestic example. If you're cooking rice and you don't stir it, or potatoes or almost anything, it can get stuck to the pot and then it burns. So if anyone is feeling stuck in Krishna consciousness, it's because you need to keep whatever you're cooking, you need to keep it moving. You need to stir it. And the way we do that is we give it to others. So the knowledge came in and I gave it out. I gave out that knowledge. And as soon as I do that, Krishna is going to give me more knowledge. And that creates a movement where Krishna is flooding me. Anandam Buddhi Vardham, the first Shikshastika, Lord Chaitanya said that the Sankirtan movement is the ocean of bliss that actually increases, it expands the ocean of bliss. So if I'm giving out the knowledge that I've received, new knowledge, new ecstatic realizations are coming into me. I'm giving those away, more knowledge is coming, and I am watering my devotional creeper. We talked about the Bhakti Lata. Please don't say Bhakti Lata. Please. Anyway, so Lata, me creeper, not a creep, but a creeper, that plant that winds around, gives flowers. And so when we give out whatever Krishna conscious knowledge we have and then new knowledge comes in, that's the way we actually water our devotional creeper. And it starts to grow. Your life will be very exciting. You'll be having a great time every day. Every day will be a really interesting day. We will dance in Krishna consciousness. We'll just feel all kinds of energy, like I just can't wait to do my service. And that's the life we want. That is spiritual life. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. When every day we are just so enthusiastic, so excited to do our service. And I remember, if I could tell one little story, and then I want to tell a few stories about Lord Nrsimha's appearance day in 1972, when I had the good fortune of taking sannyas. I remember when I joined the Berkeley Temple. I moved into the Berkeley Temple in September of 1969. And the next day, we had a little morning program that began around 7 o'clock then. We didn't all do Malarti. So it was a short, maybe half-hour morning program. We'd say Sangsara prayers, have a little artik. We would, the temple president, who was Hansa Duda, who just passed away actually, Hansa Duda would give a little class, and then everyone would go do the temple cleanup, which we always used to do, and it was very ecstatic. So that was my first day. I'd moved in, maybe middle of the day, and then that was my first morning program. I was really the new guy. And so at that point, they didn't give me any cleaning duties. So everybody went off to their duties, and I was just sitting there alone in the temple. And everything was so amazing, so new. And I suddenly had this powerful realization, which, it's very simple, but it really transformed me. And the realization was, I'm not the enjoyer, I'm a servant. And if you have any idea about the hedonism, the sort of shameless sense gratification that young people were dedicated to in that part of the world, Berkeley, San Francisco, and by then everywhere. In 1969, that was an amazing realization. It was a realization which I actually felt I felt like my whole brain had been looking backwards, and suddenly Krishna just straightened it out, and now I was looking forwards. That simple realization, I'm a servant, I'm not the enjoyer. The purpose of life is not to gratify myself in every conceivable way, as everyone tended to believe back then, young people, but actually I'm a servant. So that simple realization, and to take pleasure in it. That's Lord Nrsimhadev's mercy, because we tend to self-destruct. We tend to put ourselves in danger. And so Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nrsimhadev, he enlightens us and he protects us. He also protects us physically. So clearly, this particular incarnation, Lord Nrsimhadev, is meant to reassure the devotees to give them confidence that the Lord will actually take care of them. I remember, I'll tell you very briefly, on that day in 1972, on this day in 1972, I was going to take sannyas. And so the system was that I came into the temple in my Augusta clothes, which in those days we wore yellow clothes. Someone had thought that was a good idea, so we all wore yellow clothes. It wasn't white. And so then Prabhupada, the morning program began, and they'd set up a fire arena. And Prabhupada, of course, every morning he would sing Jai Radha Madhava for the morning program. But this day, instead of singing that, he sang Bhaja Hure Mana, Sri Nanda Nandana, Abhaya Charanadavindare. And I remember it was so potent. And of course, in the Hare Krishna movement, we don't take hallucinogenic drugs, so I can't attribute what I saw like that. So I was in the back of the temple room somehow. It was crowded because, it was a big deal. Sannyas, there were very few sannyasis. There were in those days, I think there were 3 sannyasis in the whole world. It was a very big deal, and Prabhupada was giving sannyas to 4 of us. And so the temple was really crowded. So rather than sort of, fight my way to the front to see Prabhupada, I sort of stayed in the back. And as Prabhupada was singing Bhaja Hure Mana, I had 2 realizations. Number one, that the whole temple room seemed to be dancing. And I don't mean the people in the room, I mean the building. It's hard to describe. And like I said, I was perfectly lucid. And the whole temple, the building, which was the old temple room, now the museum, was a very beautiful temple, personally designed by Prabhupada, actually. And it just seemed like the whole building was dancing in ecstasy, it became the spiritual world. And then I was thinking, why is Prabhupada chanting Bhaja Hure Mana? And then I had this realization in my heart, because in that song, Govinda Das is appealing to us to say, what pleasure is there in material life? It's like the little drop of water on the lotus leaf. At any moment, it just slides off. And I had this realization that Prabhupada, through this song, had chosen this song because he was telling his spiritual children, especially the 4 of us who are taking sannyas, not to be cheated by Maya, not to fall into sense gratification, but to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and to serve Krishna. And that's how I experienced it. That spiritual father is giving me one last important lesson before he kind of unleashes me on the world in the sannyas order. And so we sat down for the ceremony, and Kirtanananda Swami was there, and Prabhupada actually had him do the fire sacrifice and even speak a few words at the fire sacrifice. And then this was the custom with Prabhupada. No, actually, before the actual fire sacrifice, before the sacrifice, but after the talk, we were given a plate. We were given a tray that had our new sannyas clothes, and I guess the devotees, probably the ladies, very kindly had made these clothes, kurta, cape, and a sannyas dhoti. And so we took this tray, and we went through the door in the back of the temple room. The door probably would come in, and we went to some private place, and we changed into the sannyas clothes, and then we came out with our danda. We'd made our dandas. That was another funny thing, because I had to make a danda for the ceremony, and so the devotees told me me there's a good place to get bamboo. That's where we get bamboo for dandas. So they drove me in a car, and they actually drove me to my high school. There was a athletic field at my high school, and in a back corner of the athletic field was bamboo. So I made my first danda out of bamboo from my high school, Hamilton High School in Los Angeles, near the temple. So anyway, after the ceremony, later in the day, we went to see Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said something very amazing to me. He said, just as Lord Nrsimha protected Prahlad, he will also protect you. So, of course, that was an extraordinary blessing that we received from Prabhupada. And so here we are, another Parents' Day of Lord Nrsimhadev. And we have to, Prahlad Maharaj, we want to know how to please Nrsimha. That's easy. Just look at Prahlad. Who can please Lord Nrsimha more than Prahlad? Obviously, no one. So therefore, if we want to please Lord Nrsimha, we follow Prahlad. Not by imitating him that we can drink poison or jump off cliffs and survive. I mean, obviously, we can't stupidly imitate those activities of Prahlad. But we can follow Prahlad in trying to spread Krishna consciousness, trying to teach. That's what Prabhupada asked us to do. He asked us to study his books, learn this knowledge. He also personally asked me to read books of general education so I could present Krishna consciousness to educated people. And let us follow Prahlad Maharaj and try to teach everyone that we can about Krishna consciousness, and then we will also get Nrsimha's mercy and be protected by him. So let me see if there are any questions here. I don't plan to be famous. All for your thank all of you now, but thank you. For the good here. Okay, just pouring in here. Let's see. What form does Nrsimha have in Vaikuntha? That's a good question, but all that we know, all that I know, is what I learned from the Acharyas and the Shastras, and I'm not sure the Shastra talks about that, but and I don't want to speak without having clear authority for it. Are there other Shastras besides Srimad Bhagavatam that describe the pastime of Lord Nrsimha? I suspect very strongly that the different Puranas talk about, I mean, there are many books about Lord Nrsimha. Very likely the Puranas speak about him. Do we have any pastimes besides Hiranyakashipu's demise? I have actually focused on the Bhagavatam. And I haven't really, I was never really that interested in all the other books. So, although you can look that up pretty easily. Do you think there is a significance that Prahlad, a pure devotee, came from a demon family, as to say our devotion does not matter? Or depend what our devotion does not depend on what family it comes from? Yeah, that is the point, really. One time I was in Los Angeles, Prabhupada was giving the Bhagavatam class about Prahlad and from the 7th canto, and he said that I have experienced that just as Prahlad came from an Asura family, so some of my disciples also come from Asura family. Prabhupada, of course, he had to deal with some very serious opposition. People in his movement, their parents would sort of, become declared enemies of them. So Prabhupada did say that. Let's see. Trying Is there any other questions? See more? No? I think that's all the questions. Here's okay. So sometimes I hang up, I end the class, and then a minute later I'm told there are other questions. So if I didn't, okay, here's a question. When it says Nrsimhadeva protects his devotees, does that mean from material troubles as well? I don't know if it's the case that every devotee in history, even every devotee in ISKCON history that ever prayed to Lord Nrsimhadeva was immediately protected from some material problem. What we do know is that if we take shelter, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that noise. Unfortunately, they're cutting the bushes here. What we do know for sure is this: if you're in trouble and you take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadeva, everything that happens from that point on is directly Krishna's plan for you to bring you to the greatest possible happiness in Krishna consciousness. So if we do take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadeva, we will be protected from illusion and will be protected from any destiny which ultimately will not make us happy and may just get us in trouble. So we are safe when we appeal to Lord Nrsimhadeva, whether he wants to give us immediate material protection in that particular situation, which happens a lot. There are many, many devotee stories, or whether Lord Nrsimhadeva has a plan for you and you can be best protected in a different situation. In either case, we just have to go with Lord Nrsimhadeva and have absolute trust and faith in his perfect intelligence. We know for a fact that our intelligence is absolutely not perfect. I mean, all of us hopefully have lived long enough to know that our minds sometimes come up with very strange ideas. And so, yes, if we take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadeva, we will end up in the best place and we will be happy. So, I'd like to thank you all very much for being here. And I wish everyone a very happy Nrsimha Caturdasi, Nrsimha's appearance day. And may Lord Nrsimhadeva bless all of us. Hare Krishna.